did and what they did. Two different things, and you can't get the right answer doing what I had originally thought you would do. So we've got, I think John can do, what, 5 jobs in 20, I don't know if it's jobs per hour, or it's holes of golf, so it's holes per minute. So it's 5 holes in 20 minutes. Our other guy can do 6 in 30. And it says that John starts, what, 2 minutes beforehand, but they need to work together. So I had originally put t plus 2, and that won't work. You have to go t minus 2 over here. And we want them to get through 18 holes. So if you can set it up right, I think you guys can solve it. But if you don't set it up right, you pull a Mr. Wilcox on this one, you won't get the right answer. Okay, so from here, you could reduce 5/20ths down to 1/4 if that's simpler for you, and do, t over 4. Over here, what, 6/30ths is what, 1/5? So you'd end up with t over 5 to start with, but then you're going to get, let's see, negative 2 times 6, or, even if you want to leave that as 1/5, what you would get is, what, negative 2 over 5, so you'd get negative 2/5 equals 18. Okay, from here going down, you would add 2/5 to 18, and you would combine these. Okay, so let's see if I remember. Just to kind of shorten this up, you're going to multiply t over 4 by 5 over 5, and you're going to get 5/20ths. You're going to multiply t over 5 by 4 over 4, and you're going to get 4/20ths. That's going to give you 9/20ths, or 9t over 20. You need to add 2/5 to 18, and that is actually going to come out to 92/5. Okay, then you're going to multiply 92/5 by 20 over 9, and your t is going to come out as 368 over 9, or we'll take the decimal, 40.89 minutes. Did anybody get that answer? Not in your work? Okay. How many of you did the t plus 2 for John on the left-hand side? Anybody? No, just didn't. What's that? Yeah. Did you do t plus 2 for John? Did you do t minus 2 for Alan? No, just something totally different. Okay, so there's that one. Let's go on to number 2. All right, number 2. This one isn't as bad as it looks, but you do have to know what to do. All right, you've got a junior class. Take the first part, and hopefully it'll just make sense. They decided to plan for prom. Total of J juniors pledged to contribute equally for the $2,000 that it would cost. So if we were going to figure out how much it was going to cost per person, we'd take that $2,000 and we'd divide it by J number of juniors, right? Does that make sense? Okay. But you have 30 of them that decide that they're not going to pay their part of that, and so it's going to end up being more for everybody, right? So we have to figure out, what that's going to look like. So if 30 people don't commit, that's 2,000 divided by J minus 30. Does that make sense? Because, this could be a big school. There could be 500 juniors, right? Okay, so if we're going to figure out how much it's going to cost a person, this is more expensive, right? Okay, so we have to take 2,000 over J minus 30 and subtract the cheaper 2,000 over J. Okay, does this make sense so far? All right, now what I have is I've got a fraction that I'm trying to subtract. What do I have to do in order to subtract fractions? Common denominator, and the easiest thing to do is to multiply the other side by the other side's denominator, rather than trying to guess at it, okay? So on our left-hand side, we're going to get 2,000J, okay? On my right-hand side numerator, we've got minus 2000j, okay, and plus 60,000, okay, all over j times j minus 30. So far, are you with me? Now, what happens with the 2000 j's? Cancel out, okay? So I'm left with 60,000 over one of two things. It doesn't really matter. I'm not going to count it wrong, but they have it as j squared minus 30j. Okay, you could have left it with the j times j minus 30. I wouldn't have counted that wrong. Let's see, but I believe this is in, well, we'll say dollars. Okay? That one doesn't seem as bad now, right? Hopefully not. Okay, number 3. Number 3, yeah, you can. Just make sure that you want the answer for y. Okay? Now, what I ended up doing with this is let's see, just real quickly, 2x plus 4y equals 11. Then you've got 3x minus 2y equals 9. Yes, you can use a matrix. What I did instead is I multiplied by this by 3 and this by 2. Got a common 6x on both of those, plus 12y equals 33. Down here, minus 6y equals 18. Subtracted the 2, canceled out the x's. Okay, I've got 12 minus negative 6, which is going to be 18y equals 15. So y equals 15 18ths. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. Number 4. Okay. All right, so it's an octagon inscribed in a circle. So this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, something like that. I know it's not perfect, but we're looking for the area of the octagon in the middle. Does anybody know the formula for finding the area of a regular figure? Okay. Now, what they tell me is they tell me the radius. They tell me the radius of the circle, and they tell me that the radius of the circle is 12. Right? The apothem is only going to go to there, right? So I need actually two things. I need to know this length right here because I need it for the perimeter, and I need to know that length right there, so because that's my apothem. Does that make sense? So the first step is to find this angle by taking 360 and dividing it by double the number of sides there are, which is 16. I think you get, what, 22.5 degrees? Yeah. Okay, so 22.5 degrees. Now, this is a right triangle, so finding this guy right here, this is sine, that's going to be cosine, right? Okay, so if I'm trying to find my perimeter, all right, give me a second here. I'm going to use sine, correct? Because this is opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, so sine, my angle is 22.5 equals y over 12. Okay, so if I want that, I'm going to end up doing 12 sine 22.5. Okay, and I took that to 11.08. I only took these to 2 decimal places. The book answer key takes it out a little bit further, so my answer is going to be off from theirs by about 25 hundredths, something like that. Okay, so 12 sine 22.5, I got 11.08. Did you guys get that? Oh, hold on. 4.59.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had the cosine. 4.59. And then it's going to end up being the same thing. I don't need to write cosine 22.5 equals x over 12. I can just simply write it off as 12 cosine 22.5. And you should see that that equals 11.08. Correct? Okay. Now, it's important to know that the cosine is my apothem. So, but this is my part of my perimeter. Obviously, my perimeter is not 4.59. This is the length of that part. Okay? What would I have to do with 4.59 to get the perimeter? Multiply it by 16 because it's 1/2 of one side, and there's 8 sides. So I'd have to double it and then multiply by 8, or just simply multiply by 16. Okay, and that's going to be my perimeter. So what I ended up with was 11.08 for my apothem. My perimeter came out to 73.48. Divide all that by 2, and I got 407.05. They don't round it as much as I did, and so they wound up with 407.30. It's within 1, and so as long as you're within 1, I'm going to count it right. Anything over 1, you probably, that's not just an estimation error. Okay? Go ahead.
So how is the perimeter just 4.59 times 16?
Okay, this length right here, okay, that's my y. That's opposite over hypotenuse, correct?
Oh wait, God, yeah.
All right, so,
yeah, I get it.
right, because the apothem is going to split that side. It's going to bisect that side. So, all right, does that make more sense now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Number 5. Okay. This gives you an equation. You have to change the equation around and then complete the square to get the equation of a circle, to get the coordinates of the center, to get the radius. Okay? So they start you off with 3x squared plus 3y squared minus 18x plus 24y equals 0. You can do this first, you can do it later, but I would look at what I can factor out because I don't want to work with anything where it's not just x squared and y squared. So what would you factor out of that? 3. And while I'm in the process of doing that, I'm going to go ahead and move my x's together and move my y's together, okay? So that's going to be x squared minus 6x plus y squared plus 8y equals 0, right? Okay, so I'm going to kind of complete the square as I go if you listen closely. All right, so I'm going to get x squared, but as I'm completing the square, I'm taking -6, I'm dividing it by 2. -6 divided by 2 is -3, and then I'm going to square that solution. So -3 squared is 9. Does that make sense? So I get x squared minus 6x plus 9, and I'm also going to add 9 over here. Do you guys need or feel like you, for note's sake, are going to need to see that -6 divided by 2 squared to know where that 9 came from? Okay. All right, then we're going to do the same thing with our 8. We're going to divide it by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 times 4 squared is 16, right? So plus y squared plus 8y plus 16 plus 16. All right, now we want to factor our x's and factor our y's. This should be x minus 3 squared plus y plus 4 squared equals 25. That's the equation of the circle. What is the center of the circle? 3, -4, with a radius of 5. They have in their answer also the graph. I'm going to be fine with this. Okay, I think they asked for the graph on 5. You're going to have enough work in a small enough space. I'm not going to ask for the graph on that. Okay? If you give it, great. But all right. Number 6. Okay? Number 6. Okay. This is one that's a little different than ones that we've done before. So we're looking for a percent value, so we don't really have to draw the chart so much as know that we're using 140. We want to subtract the mean of distribution, which is 100, and we want to divide by the standard deviation, which is 20. Okay, so 140 minus 100 divided by 20, that's going to be 40 divided by 20, it's going to equal 2. Okay, this is where you would look at that z-score table, right? And the z-score table, just for sake of time, it's going to, if you look at 2.00, okay, makes sense? You're going to find 0.9772, okay?
That the 2.00 will be on this side, and then we just look at 0.00.
So the 2 is going to be on the left, right? You're going to see 2 over here, and you're going to see 0.00 up here. That's the value that you want right there. So, okay? Now, this is why I say that this is tricky, because if we go back to our standard normal table where we had 100, then we would have had 20, then we would have had, 120, 140, okay, and 160, correct? All right, over here you would have had 80, 60, 40, correct? All right, so we got something that looks like this, and they're asking how many of them are greater than 140, right? So is it going to be 97.72% are greater than? No. So what we actually have to do is take 1 minus 0.9772, okay? And we're going to get 0.0228, which our answer is going to be 2.28%. So you have to actually look and see what they're talking about. Because if they had said how many of them are less than 140, then it absolutely would have been 97.72%. Okay? So you need to look at what side of the graph is our number on. And if it should be a really small number, then we need to subtract our percent from 1. Okay? Or our z-scored. Okay? So 2.28% is our answer. If you had 97.72%, you were just one step off. Okay? Number 7. Okay. All right. This one has an easy way of finding it and a more complex way of finding it. This is a combinations question on 7. So how many ways can a posse of 8 be selected from a group of 11 cowboys? So combinations are written up like this, where we have our number, 11 people, and then we do our number minus our combination, so 11 minus 8 factorial times 8 factorial. And that's the equation way of doing it, where we would have 11 times 7 times 6 times 5 on down and so forth, and divide it by 3 factorial times 8 factorial. Now, there is an easier way to do this, which is in our calculator, we're going to type in 11 math combination 8. Okay, so just to kind of show you on your graphing calculator, your newer ones are going to be a little bit nicer for doing this. 11 math probability NCR 8. So we get 165, which is a lot easier to get 165 this way than it is up here. Okay. So, but if you're going to do this, I at least need you to show me that. Okay, so I know where your answers are coming from. Okay, don't just throw 165 on your paper. All right, number 8. So number 7 would definitely be one I would put on the list. Okay. Number 8. 5 cis 100 times what is it? 4, 6, 230. This one's nice because it doesn't give me a negative hypotenuse, so I don't have to find an opposing quadrant and do all that kind of stuff. We are going to take 4 times 5, which is 20. We're going to add up our degrees, which is 330. Okay. Okay, at 330 degrees, I know I'm down here. I know my reference angle is 30. Okay, so I got 30, 60, 90 with a hypotenuse of 20. The side opposite of 30 is going to be what? 10. Side opposite of 60 is going to be 10 radical 3. We're only missing one thing. Look at it closely and see what's going to might mess us up. It needs to have a negative there, right? Now, what it asks for our answer in rectangular coordinates. What does rectangular coordinates start with? X. What's my x value here? 10 radical 3. And my y value is minus 10. What needs to go on the end? I. Okay. Some folks have a tendency to put the y's first and then the x's. Okay. Let's be careful. All right. Well, I'll try to remember to tell you tomorrow, X, then Y.
Well, even if you tell me what.
Okay, then. All right, number 9. I feel like number 8 is probably one that could go on the list. I mean, it's a special right triangle, you know, multiply and add. Okay, but number 9. Okay, number 9. Cosecant squared x minus 4 equals 0. Start off by swapping cosecant squared x out with just x squared minus 4 equals 0, solving for x from here. Okay? X squared minus 4 equals 0. What is this going to come down to? Okay, x plus 2, x minus 2, very good. Okay, so it's a sum difference. I can see that because I've got a perfect square in both places being subtracted from one another. Okay, so now we're going to still continue to solve for x. So x equals what? Negative 2 and 2. Okay? All right, so cosecant equals negative 2 and cosecant equals 2. I'm going to make my life a little bit easier. I do know that these are ratios that are over 1, but I'm going to write this off as sine equals negative 1/2 and sine equals 1/2. Does that make sense? Do we understand that? Okay, so as I come over here to plot these, okay, 1/2 is 1/2 radical 3. 1/2 negative radical 3. Then I need the negative 1/2. Okay. Negative 1, 2. Negative 1, 2. So what do these actually equal? These are 30 degrees in here, right? 30, 30, 30, 30. So the degrees at which these lines exist are at 30 degrees. What else? Where's this one at? Top left. 150. Bottom left. 210. Bottom right. 330. Now, the only thing we have left to do is we actually have to convert these to radians. So we're going to take 30 divided by 180. Okay? 30 divided by 180 and get the fraction, which is 1/6. So that's pi over 6. 150 divided by 180. Is 5/6, so 5 pi over 6. 210 divided by 180 is 7/6, so 7 pi over 6. And 330 divided by 180 is 11/6, so 11 pi over 6.
Oh, they want it in radians?
They want it in radians, and the reason we know that they want it in radians is between 0 and 2 pi. Okay? So these... you divide your degree number by 180 and get it into a fraction. So 30 divided by 180 is 1/6.
So pi.
Pi will always go in the numerator of that fraction. Okay? Okay? All right, number 10. It'd be great if I can get over half of these done. Number 10. Okay. So this is an old question type, but it's old enough that we probably might not remember how to do it. So it tells me that we've got some shoes that get marked up 130%, and so the new selling price is $57.50. So what we're going to do is we've got C plus 1.3C equals 57.50. The first step in this is actually solving for the cost. Okay, we can put a 1 here. 1C plus 1.3C is 2.3C equals 57.50. Okay, we do understand the 1.3, right? Okay, if something was at 100%, it would just be its own cost. All right, or just marked up 100%, but it's marked up 130%. So we're going to take 57.50 and divide it by 2.3 to find out what the original cost of the shoes were, $25. All right, now we can start working on the last part of it, which means they didn't sell at $57.50, so they marked it down to what, 80% of the cost? Reduced the markup to 80%. So it's still marked up, but it's only marked up 80%. So what we're going to do is we've got our cost, which we'll substitute in later, plus 0.8 of our cost. Okay, and we want to find out what that equals. So we have 25 plus 0.8 times 25. Okay, so 0.8 times 25 I think is 20. Okay, so you've got 25 plus 20, which is $45. All right, that's a 20, 25. Okay. Does this make sense to us? Okay. Yeah, you should probably be fine with it. Number 11. Okay. All right, so this is using a directrix, and we've got a parabola. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so the first thing they tell me is where the vertex is, which I think is at 3, -3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's about there. And my focus is at 3, 1. So I know this about my parabola. I know it opens up like this. It's going to ask for 3 things. It's going to ask for the equation of the parabola, the equation of the axis of symmetry, and the equation of the directrix. So the equation of the parabola is the biggest equation to work with. So we're going to get y equals 1 over 4 times the distance from the vertex to the focus. So you need to know the distance from here to here, vertex to focus. So it's always going to be a straight line distance. So it should be a distance of 4 because my vertex is 3 down and my focus is 1 up. So I'm getting 1 over 4 times 4. So I should get 1/16. And because it's opening upwards, it's a positive 1/16. Does that make sense? The rest of this is just based upon the on the location of the vertex. So because the vertex is 3 to the right, I'm doing x minus 3 to the right, or squared, right? X minus 3 squared. Does that make sense? And because it is 3 down, I'm doing minus 3 on the outside. Okay, do we understand the different parts to that equation? Okay, so the next part is the directrix. Now, is the directrix going to be horizontal or vertical? Horizontal, okay? And it's going to be the same distance in the opposite direction from the vertex that the focus is from the vertex in the same distance. So this was 4 up, so I'm going to go 4 down. 1, 2, 3, 1, here, right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and because it is a horizontal line, it's going to be y equals, I'm going to count to where that is, and it should be -7, correct? All right, and then my axis of symmetry, my AOS, is going to be what type of line? Horizontal or vertical? Vertical. And it's going to go through the center. It's going to use the same x-coordinate as the vertex. What's the x-coordinate of my vertex? 3. So x equals 3. It's going to look like that. Okay? Does all that make sense? Basically 1, 2, 3, and my picture makes 4. There's 4 parts there. Okay? What time do I have left? I need to probably stop right there. You'll get this video. Part 2 I'll get in the other class. I'll try to send out a document of the work from this. Okay, I'll convert this to a PDF. I might send you this as well if you want it. Are you going to want this? It's going to be pretty much the same thing. You want them both? Yeah. Okay. All right.